Hello everyone, are you ready to enter the Gungeon? Yeah, you probably expected this. I tend to cover just about everything that is even related to roguelites. Well, in a genre that is as crowded as this one, I want to tell you why you should really be paying attention to Enter the Gungeon. So we're gonna start right off. This is the Breach, the hub area, and you can choose your character. The characters are a set of starting equipment, more or less, and there are unlockable ones, but I don't have any of them because I'm bad. So I'm gonna use the Hunter, I think? Yeah, I'm gonna use the Hunter for this video because I like the Corgi. And I like having a relatively powerful weapon to start off with in the form of the crossbow. So this is your hub area. I don't want to spoil too much, but this is where the NPCs that you find will go. They all serve various uses. As is standard for a lot of roguelites, there is a form of meta progression. Beating bosses will give you these hegemony credits, and you can spend them on various items, like this guy who sells items, and there is also a shop up in this direction that sells some stuff. Yes, that is the box that you are thinking of if you ever played Metal Gear. The box. Fat bullets, that's a little rude. And you can buy these with the credits and they'll be permanently added to the drop lists and loot tables in the Gungeon, and so you can find them. There is more here than I currently have unlocked, a lot more, but more or less, also that's an elevator that allows you to take shortcuts to various floors of the Gungeon, and it is shaped like a giant revolver cylinder because reasons. So I really just kind of want to get into it because, well, there's not a whole lot to see up here, really, and I feel that it would be best just to show you why you should really care about this game. Down to Chamber 1. First thing you'll notice, art style. It's good. It's great, in fact. The art style is absolutely fantastic. It is a pixel art style, yes, but it has had a lot of care and attention put into it. For the main reason, I think, a lot of people dislike the styles of pixel art, being that they feel that it is a style that is used in place of artistic ability. Well, this goes to show that that is not always the case. There is a huge amount of talent and detail put into this art style, but let's start off with the gameplay. It is a roguelite in the traditional style, the style that is set forth by games like Binding of Isaac, games like... oh, hey. That's a mimic, isn't it? Yes, it is. Games like Binding of Isaac, games like Nuclear Throne. This mimic is dual-wielding revolvers, by the way, because that's just how mimics in the Gungeon roll, and if you aren't okay with that, then you should probably just... oh god, I got hit! Just not even worry about it. Mimics are really hard, by the way, because the room you fight them in is quite small. Ah, I'm taking a lot of damage early on. Okay. Whew. Oh, thanks. Got a heart. Mimics are dicks. So, now, what was I going on about before I was really interrupted by a living chest? The art style is fantastic and the gameplay is fantastic. It has a very, very solid feel. The gunplay is very good, as you would hope, really, from a game about guns called Enter the Gungeon. And the actual sound assets for all the weapons are really fantastic, something you don't always expect from an indie development, because sound design is often one of the earlier things to suffer from a lower budget. This is not the case, and the art style, as you are probably noticing right now, because of all the little details like all the dead fish flopping on the floor because I'm flipping tables. Yes, you can flip tables to hide behind them. Oh god! I'm also really sucking it up this time, very early in the run. And the little things like little chunks being taken out of the walls from bullets, lanterns exploding, all the shell casings everywhere. There's a huge amount of detail being put into this world. The destruction is phenomenal, and there are tons and tons of little details that you'll find that really will probably impress you, like how almost every weapon reload not only has a really cool animation, which I would imagine is actually quite hard to animate in the space of a small number of pixels, but will actually leave magazines and clips and various things on the ground that are different depending on the weapon you're using. to the point where an enchanted magic revolver will actually leave like glowing shell casings on the ground instead of the normal ones, and all kinds of things like that. It's actually a very unique art style, regardless of the fact that, you know, you've of course seen art styles of this case many times before. This one is pretty special though, and they've put a lot of love and care into it, and that brings me to kind of how I feel about this game in general. They've put a lot of love and care into this game in general. It is hugely different from, I think, a lot of the current offerings aside from your standard kind of kings of the genre, you know, your Binding of Isaac, your Nuclear Throne, your Our Darker Purpose, oh god. Phew, I was almost hit by one of the basic enemies. I would have been very upset. And things like Risk of Rain. But what it's done, in my opinion, is surpassed all of those. And I want to really tell you why, because a lot of people that have followed this channel for a while know that I am pretty into this genre. I really, really like it for a lot of reasons, but it is very crowded. And I can understand that it can be difficult for people to really want to pay attention to this genre when it seems like a new game is coming out in every other day. This genre is something that was kind of, I guess, created, you could say, by the Binding of Isaac, in a way that has kind of solidified it, screw your cheese, as a genre, but it has seen a lot of iteration and and innovation through the past several years. Enter the Gungeon takes a lot of that, yes, that's a literal pea shooter, and actually kind of says, you know, I'll do you one better. I'll take a lot of your gameplay mechanics and conventions, and I will fix the problems that people have had with them, and I will make the gameplay even more solid than it's ever been. For instance, what's one of the many complaints of the first level of many roguelites? It's repetitive and kind of boring. Well, in this case, the first level of Gungeon is actually very expansive. You've seen several different tile sets on the first level already, and you've seen quite a bit of enemy variety on the first level already. And there are teleporters in this game. Whenever you clear a room with one of these cool green revolver cylinders, you can simply click on it and teleport back to that room, and you can then use this to teleport back to where you were standing before if you want, regardless of whether the room you teleported from even has a teleporter in it, which is very cool. And it's it's made the traversing of levels a lot less annoying and tedious than it really has any right to be. And that is a common problem that a lot of people have with roguelites, that your movement speed is deliberately not all that fast because dodging is a factor. And in this case, dodge rolling is a huge factor, but we'll get into that later when we hit a boss. But the point is, that is yet another one of the common sort of genre conventions that dodge roll has taken into account and altered in a big way. And I'm very appreciative, I guess, of just a lot of these small quality of life changes they've made to this game to make it genuinely stand out from the crowd, to say that, you know, we want to be the new leader of the pack, basically. And I don't really think that they planned on it. I just think they wanted to make a really cool, unique game in this genre that they enjoyed. But in my opinion, this is the pinnacle of the standard roguelite genre. Now, it's not an innovator. It is not a game that is hugely innovative. You know, my last video was me glowing about Forced Showdown, because it is taking the roguelite genre in a very different direction. And there are several games that have done that very successfully. Games like Forced Showdown, games like Leap of Fate, games like Hand of Fate, games like Ziggurat a little bit, and many more besides. Is that a t-shirt cannon? Yes, it is. Alright then. And those games are lovely, and I enjoy them a lot. But the point is, there are still plenty of traditional style roguelites that are more about the iteration than the innovation. And a lot of those have been kind of stagnating recently, with things like The Binding of Isaac being the clear kind of, I guess, king of that genre. Whether or not you think it's the best isn't really the point. The fact of the matter is it is kind of held as the best by most people. I'm actually going to sell this and buy that sticky crossbow because that thing is BA. Here you go. Have a t-shirt cannon. Thank you. Don't ask. There we go. I know I have fine taste. Thank you. You have a fine mustache. But let's put all that on hold for a minute because I'm about to fight a boss. The first level has a total of 3 bosses that you can come across. As is kind of standard for roguelites, there's a huge amount of enemy variety in this game, and more so than a lot of them, and I'll show you a bit of that later. But the bosses in this game are hard. Very hard. Even the first level bosses some people have problems beating. In this case I'm going to be fighting the Trigger Twins by the looks of it, which is a set of adorable bullets that have a dual health gauge and an enrage mechanic where once you kill one of them, the other one regains a bit of health and gets super pissed. This is the sticky crossbow, does a good amount of damage, and also the bolts explode when you reload, which is pretty sweet. So I mentioned dodge rolling is a huge deal. That is because there are a lot of circumstances where you simply can't reliably walk around all the bullets. There are too many of them, they're too fast, there are lots and lots of bullets on screen, especially in the boss fights, and you can't possibly be expected to dodge every last one of them simply by walking. Dodge rolling is a huge part of the game, and the dodge roll makes you, in kind of Dark Souls fashion, invincible for a short period of time. You also have blanks, which will delete every bullet on screen. They'll erase all the bullets just for a minute, and also for about half a second prevent enemies from firing more bullets. There we go. I barely beat that one. That was not a good fight for me. Oh, I'll take that though. And that is a good weapon. The Fight Saber is ridiculously good, but it does increase your curse. It shoots lasers, and when you reload, you will deflect bullets around you by swinging it around like a lightsaber TM. But anyway, the game has a pretty ridiculous variety of everything in it, and that might make some people wonder just how much RNG the game has. And that's another kind of convention that I wanted to talk about, because this game rewards skill a lot more than many games in the genre. You may have noticed that I really sucked it up in that boss fight and barely won because I kept screwing up my dodge rolls. And you may also notice that a lot of games in this genre are based off of your character having a single basic attack that you then power up via the acquisition of passive items. In this case, it's a game about guns. It is called Enter the Gungeon, after all. So, really, it's a lot less about that, and that also makes the early game a lot less boring oftentimes because, you know, you have a gun at least. And instead of a basic attack that you always start out with, you have, you know, a firearm, at least one, that you can use for various things. Ooh, a shrine. Icosa Hedrax the Great Arbiter. So it is literally the random number god. You know what? For the sake of the video, I'm gonna roll the bones. Priceless and renewed. Well, it gave me full health. I don't know what priceless does, though. This is the Ammonomicon, by the way. It, helps another of the genre conventions by telling you about the stuff that you have. It gives you some really cool descriptions of the items, guns, passive and active, and things that you have, as well as being a really good way to show how much ridiculous amounts of enemy variety this game has. Look at all this stuff. There's a lot of stuff in this game, and boss variety? Oh yeah, we've got that too. Needless to say, I've barely fought any of them because I suck at the game, but hey. There's a huge amount of passive and active item variety as well. And as far as guns go, well, let's just say there's a lot. You may notice the theme to this game is a very unique one. They took the theme and they didn't so much as run away with it as inject it intravenously throughout the development process. They went nuts with the theme to this game, that you're in the Gungeon and everything is sort of gun-related in some way. Everything is a gun-based pun or another. There's references to everything from Futurama to Dark Souls to Bloodborne to Metal Gear Solid. It's actually kind of hilarious just how much there is in the game. I mean, that is a sniper rifle bullet wielding a sniper rifle. it's now dead. And those are taser, like rubber bullet taser things. There's just, everything has this theme that is kind of adhered to it. They've really done a fantastic job, but one thing I would say is the danger of having such a specific theme is that it would be very limiting, and that they feel they must adhere to the theme in a specific way. But with dodge roll, with such a creative theme, what they've clearly done instead is it's given them artistic license to be as absurdly creative as possible, and they've done just ridiculous things with it. And I absolutely love that. And I think, personally, that that was really stupid to walk into those bullets like that. But I think that the theme of this game is one of its absolute strongest points because of how nuts they've actually gone with it, and how funny, I guess it is, and just how unique it is. They've done an absolutely fantastic job, and I can't really think of another recent game that has had such a unique set of like theming and everything going on with it. It's quite the ride all the way through. It's definitely quite something. I mean, the single-action army revolver, for instance, is in the game, and the entire thing is a reference to Revolver Ocelot from Metal Gear Solid. When you pick it up, it says it has an exhilarating reload, which, of course, is, you know, of course. And not only does it, when you reload it, you just flip it around and it just instantly reloads, but it actually fires ricocheting bullets, if you can believe it, which, of course, is a reference to Ocelot, because that's something that he can do, because, I don't know, he's Revolver Ocelot. I assume it's because his bullets, like, double-cross gravity, and then triple-cross the laws of physics. That's just, you know. But basically, the game absolutely loves its theme, and revels in how ridiculous it is. And it's nice to see a video game just be a video game sometimes, and not try to be anything more serious than that, and actually pull it off really, really well. That is a sentient muzzle flash, for instance. It's adorable, but it's also very dangerous. So let's talk about RNG a little bit. Games in this genre are famously reliant on RNG. Sometimes you can get a bad Isaac run and it feels like it's over from the first floor. You don't get any good items, you feel just super weak from the very beginning, and like you may as well just restart. Sometimes you get so strong on the first 2 floors that nothing can stand in your way for the rest of the run, and you may as well just be invincible. This game works a little bit differently. Because of the prevalence of bullets, the fact that you don't start with a single attack, and the fact that it's based more on actual weaponry than a singular attack that is augmented by passives, and that dodging is very important. You don't get as many of those situations where you feel like, damn, you just may as well start over. Ammo. But you do occasionally get really good luck where you get a really, really nice weapon, like, say, the Fight Saber and things like that, but luck and RNG is less of a factor. Skill is significantly more of a factor in this game, and I want to actually explain a little more of that. Now, I've mentioned, of course, dodge rolling being a big deal, but also you have things, for instance, like the fact that items that augment your maximum health pool are common. That sucked. And I just did horribly at that. Yay, 5 shells, woo. I need healing really bad. Is there a shop that I have revealed at all? Please? No? Okay, I didn't think so. I'm totally gonna die. And a lot of maximum health increasing items are very heavily based on your RNG. Okay. Well, I'm broke now because that guy took all my money. But what it comes down to oftentimes is, you know, there's just a large number of those health increasing items, so you're more likely to find them. In this game, there's actually not nearly as many. A lot of characters are stuck with their initial 3 health heart containers for a lot of the run. And a lot of the maximum health increasing items are things that you'll have to unlock via hegemony credits and get later on. There's the shop. But one thing I feel is important that kind of highlights just how much, and of course since I spent all my money I can't buy a heart, I'm an idiot. Damn it, Winchester. But the fact of the matter actually is, there is a health increasing item in the game, 5 of them, in fact, that are a guaranteed drop, that are not reliant on RNG whatsoever, and that are completely a reward of your skill, interestingly enough. They are known as the Master Rounds. Essentially how it works is, from the very beginning of the game, again, these are things that you have to purchase via credits that you have to unlock. From the very beginning of the game, if you beat a boss without taking any damage whatsoever, and yes, that's difficult, but it is doable, I've done it a few times, and if I can do it, anyone can, then you will, as well as getting whatever the boss will drop, usually a good weapon of some kind before you move on to the next floor, you will also obtain a Master Round for that floor, or that chamber, teehee. And holding the Master Round will give you a heart container, permanently, as long as you're holding it. A boomerang usually comes back. Quite stunning. In other words, it's a good way to stun enemies. Okay, I can handle that. Probably gonna die soon, though. But that means that kind of encompasses what I mean by the idea that the game heavily rewards skill. Drop rates, I think, are also affected by how many rooms you can go without getting hit. Things like that. RNG is still a factor because, like I said, you can just get a really good weapon. You can find a really nice passive that synergizes really well with the weapon. For instance, Shadow Bullets is a really good passive. What is that? Zilla shotgun? Quadruple the fun. A 4-barreled shotgun. Oh, wait, like Orochi Zilla? Like a Shadow Warrior? Zilla Industries, yep. This is a Shadow Warrior reference. Shotgun. Awesome. And the way it works essentially is, you know, you have a chance to fire the shadow bullet. You have a chance to fire an extra bullet. As in, it's like the shadow of the bullet can also hurt the enemies. And what that means is, if you get, say, that on the first floor and a rapid fire weapon, you're set for probably being able to shoot a lot of bullets. But, you know, you don't actually need that. So, unlike something like Isaac, oh god, it's the gore gun, you can actually do very well without getting those ridiculous synergies. In fact, synergies are significantly less important than in a lot of games in the genre, like Isaac, Risk of Rain, Dark of Purpose, etc., etc. Oh, I don't have any blanks! I forgot. That was short-lived. But what that means is, it's, you know, it just rewards skills so much more. And I think I appreciate that a lot, because it feels very fair. Like, I died there because I failed to dodge. I didn't die because of any cheapness. That was a very clearly visible bullet that I didn't dodge the right way. I forgot that I didn't have any blanks. I pressed the blank button instead of the dodge button, so I died. Simple as that. I'm going to show you a different character just to do. I'm going to show you the Marine. He's a good beginner character, because he can take one more hit than anyone else because he starts with armor. But, this is probably really stupid. This is a stupid idea, but I'm going to start from the second floor just to show you what that's like. So, essentially, this is a game all about getting absurdly ridiculous weapons and having a ton of fun with them, instead of, like the standard roguelite formula, getting an absurdly ridiculous synergy for your basic attack. And I think, personally, I feel that that is a better feeling system, because guns are fun, and this game is extremely creative with its arsenal. There is a huge number of weapons in this game, as you saw, and many of them are ridiculous. And even the basic ones, things like an AK-47 or an M16, those are in the game. Those are bullet sharks, by the way. But even they feel satisfying to use because they're fun to use. They have nice fire rates, they're pretty accurate, they have good sound assets, and do a good amount of visible damage because of how nice the enemies look. The actual visual feedback they give when you hit them and things like that means that even basic weapons, like say this infinite ammo pistol that the Marine starts with, is still satisfying to use. Yes, it's not as satisfying as a quad-barreled chargeable shotgun that fires across the entire screen that I failed miserably to use properly, but that was my fault. There is a lot more of a dynamic feel to it because the levels are a lot bigger, there's a lot more variety in enemies, and there's a lot more interactivity in the levels. You can kick explosive barrels around, you can tip over braziers to burn people, you can make chandeliers fall, flip tables for, like, cover, ride in mine carts, and all sorts of things like that, and enemies can and will notice these things and do them to you as well. And there's even more besides all of this. There's the single action army, by the way. As you can see, it fires ricocheting bullets, and here's the reload. Yep, that's how it works. Best weapon. And I think that, I guess, if I was to just kind of quickly summarize, because this video has gone on for too long, my opinion on the game kind of culminates in one fact, that this is a genre that I love. That I try to play almost every entry in because I love to see its evolution, its innovation, and its iteration in almost every form. I like it when it's done really uniquely, I like it when it's done really faithfully to the kind of granddaddy of the genre in the form of things like Isaac. I like almost every form of it. And to see something do the original better than the original, to see something be a better Isaac than Isaac, I guess, in my opinion, to see something take what the originator of the genre established and fix a lot of the problems I had with it, fix a lot of the conventions that I feel were unnecessary, maybe annoying, and make the gameplay just even more enjoyable than it's ever been, is a really good feeling. And I really can't get enough of this game, and I'm going to be playing it for a very, very long time. So this, everyone, is Enter the Gungeon. Fantastic soundtrack, by the way, as well. And it's just a very well-designed game with a lot of love put into it, and a lot of creativity and attention to the little details, the little things that people have always kind of complained about in terms of things that they've disliked about the genre but have dealt with because the games were so good anyway. Here's another example, actually, before I go. People that don't know a lot about the roguelite genre may not understand how big of a deal this is, but how many times people that have played things like Isaac and Our Darker Purpose and Risk of Rain have you heard, you know, don't pick that item up, it'll ruin your run. Or if you pick this item up on the first floor, or if this is your first floor item, you may as well just restart because your run is ruined. Or like, this is the worst item in the game, never get it. There are items, passive items, that are considered so bad that you're not supposed to pick them up because they'll outright ruin your run, or they'll screw up one of your synergies so bad that it will like cause you to kill yourself, like getting Ipecac in Isaac, which causes your tears to actually hurt yourself, along with an item that makes your tears very short range, can actually ruin your run because it can cause you to actually do yourself so much damage that you will actually die. Things like that can happen. Picking up soy milk on accident can completely ruin a good Isaac run, like from being godlike powerful to almost uselessly weak in like half a second. This game lets you drop guns, it lets you drop active items, and most importantly, perhaps, it lets you drop passive items. Any passive items you pick up will appear here on your map screen. You can click them and drop them. I can't drop this because it's my starting item. You can never drop your starting equipment, but anything you pick up, you can drop. Like this, for instance. I would never want to drop this, but just as an example, I can go boop and drop it if I want to. Obviously, I want this, but hey. That's actually a big deal for this genre, and that is another thing that shows me that Dodge Roll have clearly taken a lot of the complaints about this genre and how it works, and how people have kind of had certain issues with it over the years and how it's evolved into consideration, and have altered their vision of it and made their own kind of final verdict on it that I personally feel is pretty much the best, in my opinion, version of what this genre has to offer at the standard level. There are other games that are very different, you know, things like Leap of Fate, Hand of Fate, and Ziggurat, and Forced Showdown, things that don't follow the standard formula laid out by games like Isaac and Nuclear Throne. But of those games that do, of those games that keep the roguelite conventions and try to keep it like it is, this, in my opinion, is as good as it gets. This is the pinnacle of that, and it is a hallmark of absolutely excellent game design with an amazingly well-realized theme, fantastic visual design, and a ton of attention to detail and absolutely just love poured into it. And I'm in love with the game. I adore it, and I'm absolutely going to be playing more of it constantly. So, yeah, this is... Oh gosh, sorry, this is Enter the Gungeon, everyone. It is available right now on Steam for the low price of only $15. Yeah, a game with this amount of content, only 15 bucks. That's all it's gonna cost you. It has local co-op, not online co-op, I know, but don't underestimate how difficult and expensive it can be for an indie dev to put netcode into their games. It's not easy to do, necessarily, so... try not to be too hard on them for that, because it's surprisingly difficult to pull off. So yeah, this is Enter the Gungeon. If you're at all a fan of this genre, oh god, not the beholster, please do give this one a try. It's just got so many fantastic things in it that it's next to impossible for me not to recommend it. It is so enjoyable. It does so many things right, and so many things just that little bit differently that matter. And Dodgerel clearly understand what it means to be part of this genre. They're clearly not trying to make this sort of cash in on the popularity of it, and are obviously... They have created a passion project here. This is a labor of love on their part, and they know exactly what they wanted to make of it, and they have successfully done that. So reward them with your purchase, I would say, if you are at all interested in this type of thing. And hey, it may even solve some of the... I should have dodged that. Why didn't I dodge that? It may even solve some of the problems that you have previously had with some other entries of this genre, like the fact that some items don't tell you very well what they do, some of the reliance on RNG, then the fact that they don't always reward skill as much as you feel they should, things like that. It does do things differently enough to be a pretty unique experience while still remaining very faithful to what the roguelite is supposed to be. And because of that, it is a truly fantastic experience, and I could not possibly recommend it anymore. So, thank you guys very, very much for watching. Ooh, 2d6 plus ant mod, yes. For beating a Dungeons & Dragons reference boss, I get a D&D reference weapon. I'll take it. And if you liked this video and appreciate my commentary, whether or not you actually agree with me, that's fine, but if you like the video, please feel free to actually hit the like button. If you dislike this video and are a horrible servant of the gun-dead, feel free to hit the dislike button. And again, available on Steam right now. Please go support this if you feel that it is something that is interesting to you, because in a genre that is overcrowded and in a world where we are constantly complaining about things like soulless AAA cash-ins and things like that, when you see something like this with so much passion and interesting thought and creativity poured into it, it's so hard not to just love it and appreciate it. So yeah, feel free to support them. Dodgerel and Devolver Digital have outdone themselves this time. Thanks very much for watching, everyone. Don't kill me. Yeah, and I'll see you next time.